Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the best animated shows ever, so far, with MC and Troy.
This is the best animated shows ever so far. I didn't do nearly as long as a pause that time. I can't do the long pause. It hurts me.
No. By the way, I got to mention this. Every time that... so I came up with the idea for the pause because in our title, there's an ellipses, which to me is 5-second pause.
5 seconds is a really long time.
Yeah. So I told Troy 3 to 5 second pause when we read the title of the show. So Troy's been doing that, and the last couple of episodes, I've seen him struggle for the last couple of seconds just to be like, give it that little bit extra, but it makes him so uncomfortable.
It's a long time. Let's do, okay, the best animated shows ever. That's such a long time so far.
Yeah.
It's such a long time. You didn't say your name, sir.
I am MC.
I know.
Yeah, I am MC. I am the one who sounds Australian.
Yeah, sounds Australian. Weirdly, he's German. I don't understand it. Sounds Australian. It's a strange affliction. This is the podcast where we get silly after recording 2 podcasts in a row. We're watching
drinking coffee
and ranking every single animated show ever. Eventually, I ran out of coffee. MC, this is my empty.
No, so did I. Like that's why you see me jittering on the screen.
Want more coffee? Unfortunately, that was the last of the coffee from the pot of coffee. So
that was my second coffee. So I really shouldn't have any more coffee. Unless you want to see me. Unless you want to see me off the walls.
It's also 3:00 in the afternoon here. What time is it in Germany?
No, well, it's 10:30 right now.
All right. The Reeking Reign of the Head Cheese, Part 2. This is the continuation of the episode we watched last week. Go ahead.
So, I should have realized that this was the start of the second episode because I was reading your notes just then, and I realized they didn't cut that out of the what happened straight off in the episode I watched. It
so
just
it actually said the title, or
no. So it did the ad cut. Like it didn't do the credits or anything. It did the ad cut. Mm-hmm. So it was just a Biker Mice from Mars logo, and then it went into the start of this episode, which is a recap of the last episode.
I wondered if the recap was in there because I was going to say it does lead off with a recap. So you probably should have realized that it was a 2-part. Maybe it's after this commercial break, they're recapping everything. Actually, so Becky and I
really short recap, but it's like 20 seconds.
We've been watching, we watched the Great British Bake Off, or the Great British Baking Show, which is a delightful baking show. If you've never watched it, you totally should.
I have. My sister loves it.
So yesterday, we found that the Great American Cooking Show, or Baking Show, has a new season on Hulu. And it's still Paul Hollywood, but it's a different judge and different hosts, and it's all Americans baking instead of British people. But I was like, whatever, we'll go ahead and watch it.
Please tell
and it's
me
fine.
Terrible.
It's not terrible.
No.
I've heard that the previous seasons were terrible. The one we started watching yesterday, it's fine. It's not as fun as when they're British. And there's one lady who's definitely got murder eyes where I'm like, you are very American. Like, you are like, you look cutthroat. And like when she gets bad feedback, you know, on the Great British Baking Show, when they get bad feedback, they're like, oh,
thank you.
I'm sad about it. In their eyes, this is what you're seeing is I'm sad about it, but I know I could have done better. And her feedback,
but
they're
very generous about it as well. Like they're like, thank you for your criticism. I'll try better next time. Like that.
She says those things. This American chick, she says those things, but her eyes say, if this gets me kicked out of this program, I am going to murder everyone here. And it's very nice. I actually really like her a lot. But every time she gets bad feedback, I'm like, I can see that you hate getting the bad feedback. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Oh, I brought that up because of the commercials. There's commercials on the Great American Cooking Show, or Baking Show. Great British Bake Off has no commercials. American one does. but we pay for the version of Hulu where we don't have commercials. But what they do is something will happen, and then there'll be a black screen, and then it'll come back and it'll repeat the thing that just happened again because it's coming back from commercial. So they're like, we have to recap what just happened for you. And I was like, oh, I hate this. I hate that so much. So somebody will be like, oh, these are ruined. I'm going to have to start it all over again. And it cuts to black. And then it comes back from black and the person's going, oh, these are ruined. I'm going to have to do them all over again. And it drives me so nuts.
I started watching something on Stan, which is another. It's kind of like Hulu and Netflix. Like it has TV shows and movies on it that you can go watch if you have a subscription. It's an Australian-based one, but so I started watching something on that, and it did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's annoying. Oh well, and just went on with it. But when it keeps happening, you're like, God, it's annoying.
I mean, it's like literally 2 seconds every 15 minutes, and it drives me so nuts. It makes me so irrationally upset.
It repeats 5 seconds, and you're like, why? You couldn't just cut. You couldn't just cut that out of this show for like this platform.
So it makes me so mad. Like, no, you jerks. You want to hear some behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah.
All right. This episode aired October 2nd, 1993. That's right. There was actually a week between these two episodes. You had to wait on that cliffhanger. Can you imagine? Oh, how upset the little kids were in 1993, not knowing how the biker mice from Mars were going to get out of Grease Pit's trap. Hint, hint, they punch him. Actually, I don't remember, but they probably punch him or shoot him.
I can't remember how they defeat him either. Do you have notes on it?
I do. We'll get to it. But first, I want to tell you about some more behind-the-scenes people who worked on the show. I want to talk about writers and directors. So let's talk about the director first. The same guy directed all 3 of the episodes that we watched for this show so far. His name is Tom Tataran. I don't know how to say his last name. I hadn't tried to say it until just now. Taranowicz. Which, that's going to be which at the end, right? Wicz?
Yeah.
Taranowicz. Okay. All 3 of the episodes we've watched so far were directed by the same guy, Tom Taranowicz. He also has worked on everything. So I'm going to give you a list of some shows here that he's worked on. He-Man, She-Ra, Pac-Man, Fat Albert, Garfield and Friends, Bobby's World, Bucky O'Hare, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, Incredible Hulk, Secret of Nim 2, Son of the Mask, and also the new Biker Mice from Mars TV show. Dude did everything. And he's just like been a director, a producer, a writer. He's done all kinds of stuff. I'm curious. I'm going to try and do this, as I've said, every show that we cover. I'm going to try and do some behind the scenes stuff. And I'm curious if we're going to start seeing like repeated names come up. As far as the writers, we've had 3 writers for the 3 episodes we've watched. Rick Unger, who we already talked about, and then 2 siblings, Bob and Eve Forward, were the other 2 writers that have worked on these 3 episodes. Both Bob and Eve Forward worked on G.I. Joe and the Legend of Zelda cartoon, which we definitely have to do at some point. It's so bad.
Oh yeah, it's really bad.
And then Bob Ford has also worked on the Mario and Sonic cartoons. He worked on Beast Wars from Transformers, which I remember very fondly.
Yeah.
And he worked on Exo Squad. Do you remember Exo Squad?
I don't remember Exo Squad.
It was like a mech show, but they weren't like 20-story tall mechs. They were like maybe 20-foot tall mechs, and you like climbed in the back of them, and I think there was like a cord that plugged into the back of your neck like the Matrix, and they used that to control your mechs. This is what mechs do when they walk. Nobody else can see this except for you, but that's
so
how
it's
mechs
Gundam.
walk, apparently. But smaller, because Gundams are really big. Yeah, they're real big.
No,
really?
So they're 60 feet.
That's way more than 20 feet, dude.
Yeah, but it's like some are smaller, some are bigger. But none are bigger than like 85 feet. I think is the biggest one that I've seen.
I don't know which version of Gundam I've seen, but I've only seen one version. It's whatever was part of the Toonami block on Cartoon Network.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I never
I've
watched.
seen a couple.
Yeah.
EXO. I think I saw the original Gundam. And there was Trigun.
Trigun. That sounds familiar. That might be what I've
That
seen.
might have been the one. That might have been the one on the thing. I think it was Trigun. Let's have a look.
Toonami. Gundam.
No, Trigun's a different kind of show. That's right.
Is it? I was gonna say I know that name.
Yeah.
G
Yeah,
Gundam.
that-
It looks like.
Yeah, that might have been it then. It was definitely the Toonami block one because we had the same thing,
Or maybe Mobile Suit Gundam.
Mobile Suit Gundam might have been the original.
Let's see. This would have been about
But yeah,
2000, maybe.
there's
G-Force Guardians of Space Gundam Wing.
bunch.
Mobile Suit Gundam Wing.
Gundam Wing.
That's
Yeah.
what I've. Yeah. Anyway, at some point.
But yeah, there's just a bunch of those shows. So
All right. You want to talk about the episode?
sure.
All right. This episode kicks off with a recap of what happened last time. The biker mice from Mars got captured. There was a diamond heist, and that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Then we see a scene where Lindbergh gets a call from the head chancellor, which is great. We'll talk about it. We meet the villain of the episode named Tunnel Rat, and the biker mice from Mars go on trial. What do you want to start with?
Well, the biker mice escaping.
Escaping
they're
their
captured. Yeah, because in this scene we see the mice have been captured. They asked for Charlie to be released.
Right.
Or is that?
Yes.
And they're like, fine, we'll release her. And then they're like, okay, and they surrender. And then they decide Charlie's not going to get away. And that's when
so Greasy goes back on his deal and is like, now that we've got handcuffs on the mice, also put handcuffs on Charlie. So the biker mice decide to do no hands maneuver number 5.
3.
No.
Oh, no, wait.
No,
3. Vinny wants to do 3 because he looks so much cooler
when he does number 3. But no. Throttle says we're doing no hands maneuver number 5. What is no hands maneuver number 5?
Essentially, they split up and take on goons with their tails, from what it looks like.
My note says no hands maneuver number 5 is, I guess, just run around and then punch people, because they don't.
Yeah.
It's like when Han Solo says, I've still got a few moves or whatever, or I know a couple maneuvers or whatever his line is, and then he just flies the ship some more. Like, they don't do anything special. They just run around and beat people up.
Oh, yeah, essentially, but they don't use their hands because they're handcuffed. And then they release Charlie, who escapes, and she's like, come on, let's get out of here. And the mice are like, no, they might go back on their word, but we're honorable, so we're going to stay here and go with them.
It's so dumb.
Yep.
So dumb. They go, Grease Pit's still the law.
Is it the next scene that they're on trial?
Yeah, no, because first Grease Pit is still the law, and then we cut to Lindbergh's office, and he gets a call from the High Chancellor of the Plutarchians, who demands the traditional greeting.
Which is a butt dance.
Yeah. Lindbergh goes up to the big TV screen and turns around, and the High Chancellor turns around on his side of the big TV screen, and they say, cheek to cheek, and stink to stink, as Plutarch grows, the galaxy shrinks, and then they make farting noises.
Yeah. With their armpits.
Why?
Because it's a kids' TV show, and that's funny to kids.
But why?
It's butt jokes. It's butt jokes.
But why?
Because kids love butt jokes. And Plutarchians have big butts.
And they cannot lie.
That was bad. And they can definitely lie.
So anyway, we meet the tunnel rat, who is the villain for
Yep.
this week's episode. And he's going to do the strip mining because the whole thing is that the High Chancellor is going to be here soon. And Lindbergh needs to have some serious strip mining done by the time the High Chancellor gets there. So we get our guest villain of the week, which they just seem to always be people that...
He's a big rat.
He's a big rat. He looks like Splinter, but angry.
Yeah.
It seems like they're all people that Carbuncle knows. And I question, like, where did they all come from? Because in Ninja Turtles, they explain, like...
scientist.
That's true.
He's a mad scientist. He has to get his mad science equipment from somewhere. So I'm guessing he has a lot of shady dealings with shady people who know more shady people. So he just asks his shady friends about other shady friends that he might want to get to help out Limburger.
Is Tunnel Rat a mutated Earth rat, or is he also an alien?
Yeah, they don't address it.
Why don't they address it? I need more world building in this children's cartoon, MC.
And they talk about how this rat is eating mice at some point.
Yeah, he says, I eat mice for breakfast.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to the trial. The biker mice are on trial. Grease Pits.
This is the best thing ever.
Go ahead, take it.
So Grease Pit is just like, he lists out their crimes and makes up a couple. Let's see. Stealing from...
I think it's kidnapping the mayor, resisting arrest. I think stealing candy is in there somewhere.
Yeah, stealing candle. Yeah. He makes up a couple, and especially the resisting arrest, because they pretty much give themselves up to him.
I mean, they do beat up all of the goons.
Yeah,
and then give themselves up again.
They're not police officers. Only Grease Pit is the officer, because none of them have badges or anything. Mm-hmm. They don't even have guns.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Motor's like, I got this. I've watched every single episode of Law and Order, or something like that.
LA Law.
LA Law.
3 times. He's watched every episode.
3 times. Yeah.
3 times.
3.
How? When? Did he do this since he got to Earth? He did LA Law in space.
So he starts using a whole bunch of lawyer lingo. Like, and I'm not even sure most of it's done correctly or precisely. And essentially, he does it does like a time cut. Mm-hmm. And it's implied that he's done this.
Everybody's bored.
Yeah. And then the judge is like, they're innocent.
Yeah, he's like, whatever, just get out of my courtroom. Because this judge is bored by law? Don't be a judge then. You picked the wrong career path, my dude.
And then Charlie busts it.
My favorite line from his deposition or whatever.
Yeah.
Is he goes, there's no way we could have held up the alleged toy store in question. It would have been much too heavy.
Yeah, he does say that.
I love the humor on this. It's such a stupid show, but like it's got such like it has great stupid jokes built in to or mixed in with all of the like just stupid jokes, because there's plenty of those, like the butt thing. I was like, okay, I get it. Like, ooh, they're rubbing their butts, and then it cuts to there's no way we could have held up the alleged toy store. It was much too heavy. Like, okay, that's really funny. I like it.
And then Charlie busts in and is like, I've got you your lawyer. And then the judge is like, no more lawyers. Like, what? You're a judge. You deal with lawyers every single day.
He hates law. He hates law. He hates being in his courtroom. He's an artist at heart. He writes poetry. Did you know that lawyer? There's a whole comic exploring his backstory. Oh my God, a backstory comic of a poet. That would be the most boring comic ever. It's just the same drawing of a dude sitting next to a lake with a little notebook writing for like 23 pages. I'm going to make this comic about this judge. It's going to be great. I'm going to do one drawing, but then I just have to make up a bunch of bad poems.
And then right in front of the judge, Grease Pit essentially is like, I'm going to set you guys up to fall for more made up crimes. Like right in front of the judge.
Did he? I didn't remember that.
Yeah. In the courtroom, he's like, I'll just arrest you again.
Oh, well, fair enough. I mean,
and they're
he
like,
is the law.
for what?
It's so dumb. Why did they give him? It doesn't make any sense.
I know.
He's not the law. He's Grease Pit.
Yep.
You know he's a baddie. Meanwhile, apparently the reason that they had to steal all the diamonds was for a big drill that Tunnel Rat is going to use to dig under the city.
Because,
and the Biker Mice from Mars. Oh, go ahead.
Lindenberg is still the mayor, and they have the mayor tied up in this drilling machine. Yeah. And apparently he just has the rights to all the land now, so he's going to dig it up.
And that's fine. That's fine. That's something mayors do all the time. The Biker Mice from Mars show up and give a great line. Did you catch what they said when they rode up? They're like, we're going to stop you line?
No.
It's possible I misheard this, but what I think he said is, we're not going to let you give the shaft to Chicago if we can help it. Which I was like, wow, that's a heck of a line to be in a kid's show. Again. And then they go, are you guys crazy? And he goes, no, just bad. The baddest. Because they're so bad. Oh, I forgot. I was going to introduce myself as a bad mama jamma at the start of this episode. Dang. Oh man, I just this episode's so silly. So anyway, the digger's operational. The Biker Mice from Mars are going to stop it. There's a chase scene, like there always is, and Limburger gets real cocky talking to the High Chancellor on another video call. Where do you want to go on this section?
Well, let's talk about the digger and the Biker Mice and how they rock up.
Sure. Let's see. Well, so I think in this part, they're just on their motorcycles, and then later on is where they come back with the souped up bikes.
Yeah, but in this scene, you see them getting this digging machine ready. The mad scientist is trying to connect two wires that are just not long enough to connect. And the rat's like, why isn't this thing up and running yet? And Limburger's the same, I'm pretty sure, at this point. Like,
I think I blacked out during this part. I have no memory of this.
Because they get Fred to hold the wires, and he's like, yay! And then he's all electrified.
Really? I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. They torture this little man, but he's enjoying it.
Poor mutant Fred.
He enjoys it, but he's like, yay!
That's good, I guess. He's a weird little guy.
And the mayor's tied up in the machine, and they have this whole, like, I'm going to give you the whole city of Chicago.
Yeah, so that part
is not going to work out for him.
Yeah, so I guess they start drilling. Oh, they chase the Biker Mice away. That's right, because it's the same thing we've seen over and over again, where the Biker Mice show up and are like, we're going to stop you. And Limburger's like, oh, yeah? Goons! And the goons chase the Biker Mice away. And then they start drilling and they're shooting the dirt up a big tube into space, I guess. Yeah. Which is weird. Where does that tube come from?
Or is it teleporting? Or I didn't really understand that.
Because it literally like goes into an orbit shot of Earth, and there's like a silly straw coming off the planet with dirt going up it.
But there's no tube behind them or whatever.
Nope. And just somewhere it's going into space somehow.
Yeah.
Magically. Ways that I don't understand. There's a great awful line from Tunnel Rat where he goes, "This should be rated X for excavation,"
Yeah,
which is
he does say that.
what? Why would
Is this the character that you thought you had like the
yeah?
it like pulled back? Yeah, I slightly remember something like that. Yeah, I think Tunnel Rat might be a reoccurring villain.
Okay, so what happens next? Because there's this middle part. No, we do have one more thing in this middle part. Okay, we have the call back to the High Chancellor, who's in his mud bath.
Oh yeah, and he's like, everything's going well, and it's like, I guess we'll have to do the traditional dance, and he's like, no, it's fine,
Because you're
and
naked,
you see, like,
and we don't want to
butt
see you
crack.
naked. Yeah, he's got a Band-Aid on his butt.
Yeah,
because it's funny.
and fish people apparently take mud baths and they stink.
They're awful. They're the worst. They're so gross. And I totally get it. Like, as a little kid, I probably thought they were really funny. But now it's like, oh, he takes a mud bath. Oh, his butt. Now, you know, these people, these Plutarchians, MC, they're really into odors. They have a very scent-based society. They're particularly fond of foul or odors. And they fly very big ships, very big spaceships, and you know, they're big enough ships that they actually carry multiple smaller ships inside of them. You know, we have aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
They have ships that are carriers, but they're very into their odor, so they reference the odor of their ships, and they call their ships stench carriers.
Yep.
And the High Chancellor tells Limburger that if he doesn't deliver Chicago, he says, you better. If you don't, you'll be cleaning my whole stench carrier with your tongue, which is the least pleasant sentence I've ever heard in a children's book. You'll be cleaning my whole stench carrier with your tongue. Just everything about it. Ugh.
I mean, that sentence is even worse when you see the visualization of what's at the end of this episode.
It was worse for me before that. It was worse for me the first time I heard it because I didn't understand that the stench carrier was referring to his ship, and I heard hole and stench carrier, and I was like, where's his tongue going? Oh, no. I was very concerned about that sentence, and then I was like, oh, it's his ship. His ship is his stench carrier. Okay, that's slightly less problematic than I thought it was going to be. And then it gets worse because the ship is nasty.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There's the chase with Tunnel Rat.
Yeah, so this is where we get into the kind of last section. Okay, so the last section is they've got souped up bikes with drills on the front of them. Tunnel Rat leaves the big digger in like a little tiny go-kart thing to chase them down.
Yeah.
And then
I think it's supposed to be like a mining cart.
Yeah, it's like a minecart, yeah. And then the biker might save the day, which we'll get into. But this version of Tunnel Rat is what I remember because I'm pretty sure I had him in his little minecart thing as that's the pullback race car type toy that I'm pretty sure I had was him in that thing. His tiny go-kart. Where did they get the drills on their bikes?
They don't say, but I'm guessing Charlie did it.
Perfect. That works for me. She can do anything. Charlie's the best. Yeah. She's the real hero. There's a part where they're digging through the dirt, MC, and one of the mice says, "Man, these things are really boring through the dirt." And then one of the mice says, "I don't think it's boring. I think it's kind of fun."
Yeah, they do say that.
So dumb.
There's a lot of these like puns and jokes that happen in the show when you're like, oh, they're making a lot of these, and you're like, I'm not sure if I should be enjoying this or not.
Do you mean like right after that when they confront the machine and one of
Yeah.
them might says fire at will?
Yeah. And then someone says, I'd rather fire at the big machine.
Because he thought he meant fire at will. Person who we don't see, I guess.
I'm pretty sure that interaction happens between Throttle and Moto.
I believe so. I think Moto's the one who doesn't get anything. I think he is both. I don't think it's boring. I think it's kind of fun. And I'd rather fire at the machine. I'm pretty sure those are both Moto.
Yeah.
I think because Vinny is intentionally funny, Moto is accidentally funny, and Throttle is not funny. I think
he's supposed to be the straight man, but he's one of the funnier characters.
Throttle or Moto?
Yeah. Throttle.
Yeah. He's situationally funny, but he doesn't make jokes. Like Moto accidentally says things that are funny. Vinny makes jokes, and Throttle just is like situational funny, sitcom funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we got here? I don't know, man. It's a chase scene, but in a mine.
Yeah, they chase him. They go into the subway to cut them off.
Yep. They stopped
pretty much
somehow. I don't really understand why they stopped.
Tunnel Rat gets defeated in the last scene and then runs back to the big driller. They drop down into the subway, they cut it off, and then that whole scene of I'd rather shoot at the driller happens.
Yeah. And then they bust into the machine, and Limburger and Carbuckle are like completely useless without Tunnel Rat being there. So they save the mayor, they get him out of there. They send the digger at Limburger's tower and knock that sucker over. And hooray! The day. Yeah.
There's a small scene in there where because of Tunnel Rat running into the side of the machine and blowing up essentially, it knocks Mutant Fred off of the wires, so everything shuts down. I think that's why they can't.
I do not remember. Like, I have no memory of Mutant Fred even being in this episode. I cannot understand. I'm literally gonna go watch this one again because I'm like, what happened? What did I do that made me just black out parts of this episode? So after they save the day, the mayor is like super thankful and wants to reward them, and he offers them a couple.
And he offers them a bunch of stuff, and then they keep them in like, nah, you can keep it, you can keep it, you can keep it. And then he pulls out some coupons for hot dogs and root beer, and they're like, done, and take it and just take off.
And they go back to their scoreboard and have a hot dog and root beer party, I guess.
Yeah.
Which they're really, really excited about that. And then it cuts to Limburger meeting with the head chancellor, who sends him.
Tells him he says he's messed up for the last time or whatever. And then he kicks him into, a very unpleasant-looking bathroom.
And he's got to start cleaning the ship with his tongue in the bathroom?
Yeah, and he's like, that's the crew lavatory or something like that. And it's like, it's literally pictures of toilets with brown sludge on the walls and running out from underneath the seat. And it just looks real gross.
If you have to clean an entire warship with your tongue, is it better to start with the bathroom or to end with the bathroom? I think start with it. You get it out of the way, and then the less gross parts can kind of scrape off the bathroom stuff. I think that's the way to go. If you are ever in a position where you have to clean an entire alien warship with your tongue.
The last thing should be that you clean is the room with the big power thing in the middle that all spaceships seem to have. Mm-hmm. That way the ionized air just
fry a layer, skin off your tongue.
Yeah,
that's a good. Or you start there and fry your taste buds.
There we go.
That might be the way to do it. You gotta plan for these kinds of things, you know.
Go back there after cleaning every room, just
first and last. Start there, do a lap, and then go back there again.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to do it. And the biker mice from Mars have saved planet Earth once and for all, and there's not
at least
another,
Chicago.
80 episodes. It did feel like this was the end of, like, it felt like
Yeah.
these 3 episodes were a complete story. Like, we're done, right? That's it. We're done. But I mean, evidently not, because the show kept going for like 2 more years.
Oh yeah.
But it felt complete to me. I don't know. I liked this episode. As with most part 2s, I think part 2 was better than part 1. It felt like there was a lot less padding in this episode. It felt like
So
it was a faster paced episode, I think, is what I liked about it. Although I apparently blacked out parts of it, so who am I to judge?
This episode for me was part 2, like all of it. So
Yeah.
I got this and the first bit. So I got like the kind of shitty magnet enemy, and then Tunnel Rat, which was really good.
Yeah, Tunnel Rat was cool. He had a cool design. He had a cool voice.
Yeah. So I thought this was episode 2, and then episode 3 is episode 4 for me.
Oh yeah. Do you want to do a mini version of that episode?
Oh, so Hocker and Hacker, the Loogie twins, are hired by Limburger to come and defeat the biker mice, and they're defeated, and they go back to Limburger, and essentially he's like, why haven't they left? And people are like, well, they're enjoying Earth junk food too much, and the Earth junk food is making them stink even more than normal Plutonians.
Okay.
And essentially it's stinking up all of his tower, and then he comes up with an idea to use that stink to, like, I guess, scare away the humans in the city.
So he's just gonna smell everybody out, like.
Yeah, and then the biker mice come and save the day.
Was that episode like markedly better or worse than the 3 that we watched, or pretty much more the same?
I mean, it's a lot along the lines of episode 3. Like, that's
okay.
Like, that seems to be the tone of the show.
There's a plot. We got to do a chase scene and then stop the plot.
Yeah. So the first couple of episodes, they're kind of like, they're trying to like balance plot and action, and they're not really getting it. And then with episode 3, I think they get it, and they turn that formula sort of into the whole show. Like, it's like, oh yeah, there's the every episode bad guys, which is Grease Pit, Carbuncle, and Limburger,
and Mutant Fred.
Like, they're Mutant Fred and Carbuncle seem to be in the background a lot, not really doing much.
Carbuncle seems like he's there just to introduce whoever the baddie of the week is.
Yeah, the baddie of the week is Carbuncle's whole deal, and it's like, I'm guessing a lot of these characters will get repeated throughout the series.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, like we see Tunnel Rat and the Exterminator.
I feel like Tunnel Rat rather must be a repeat villain, because he seemed really familiar to me.
And I think the Loogie brothers are also repeats, because, like you said, their names sound familiar.
Yeah, Hacker and Hawker. Yeah, that sounds familiar enough that I think it's probably the case. Let's see. Do you have anything else? Or should we move into ranking?
Oh yeah.
Aw, snap. So one of the things we're going to do on the best animated shows ever so far is, well, we're going to determine which are the best animated shows ever.
Yep. After 3 episodes of a certain series, we will decide. And then later, if we come back and watch 3 more episodes, we can re-examine our listing of where they are on our list and decide if they are better or worse, depending on those new 3 episodes. But at the moment, there's only one other show on the list, which is I still think it's number 1, which is My Hero Academia. This will be number 2.
Yep. I don't think we need to do a lot of discussion on that. This show is not as good as My Hero Academia.
I reckon it's like probably a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
it's fine.
Not terrible. It's
no,
fine.
it's not. It's fun. It's perfectly fun.
It-
If it was on, if I was flipping through channels, like I'd be like, oh, cool, Biker Mice from Mars is on. But
Yeah.
I don't think I will seek out like My Hero Academia. I want to watch more of Biker Mice from Mars. I don't need to watch more of. If it comes on, that's great. But if it doesn't, that's fine too.
There's a lot of nostalgia with it.
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
true.
So I almost want to bump it up to a 6, but I want more room for this show to grow on me if we come back and watch it again. Because if we come back and watch 3 more episodes of this in say 6 or 7 months, I think it really will give me that nostalgia feel, and I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for sure.
I could see it being a little higher as I see more of the show, especially if there are like repeat villains that I'm going to recognize and things like that. That might make me appreciate it a little bit more. But that's why I didn't want to do 2 separate lists or 2 separate like ranking things based on nostalgia. I want to kind of have it all encompassing because I mean, realistically, if you do put this side by side with My Hero Academia, there's not a lot of argument to be made that this will ever rank higher. But I don't think that that's just because it's an older show. I think that when we get to some older shows, potentially the Turtles, although I'm wondering if that one's also going to be like not nearly as good as I remember.
Yeah.
But like I know Batman the Animated Series, like that will rank high for me regardless of the nostalgia piece of it. So I don't think it's just that My Hero Academia is newer. It does help, but it's not the only thing that makes it.
No, there's definitely a lot more like structure and like thought out world in My Hero Academia. Whereas that with Biker Mice from Mars, they're like, this is Chicago. There's nothing really to show that it's Chicago.
Yeah, even the baseball stadium not actually labeled Wrigley Field. The baseball team isn't labeled as the Cubs. They're just Chicago.
Yeah, and they're like in the episode 4, it's a football game, not a baseball game happening.
Oh, really?
And
would that be the Browns?
The Browns? No, aren't the Browns?
The Browns?
Aren't they the hockey team? No, that's the Bruins.
That's the Blackhawks.
Okay.
Chicago Bears. The Bears.
Bears.
The Bears.
I did say Bears. Yeah.
Who are the Browns? Where are the Browns from? Cleveland Browns. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. You were saying. I'm guessing what you were saying is it's not the Bears.
I don't think so. I don't even remember seeing any like labels or anything. I think they might have been in blue gear.
The Bears wear blue, so that's at least the right color.
But I'm like, it could be. I'm not a big fan of football in general, and American football doubly so. Like, I have the team that I barrack for in Australian rules football and the National Football League.
Did you just say
rugby.
I barrack for?
Yeah, barrack.
I've never heard that term.
Yeah?
That's a new term. I mean, I assume it just means, the team of which you are a fan.
Sport. Yeah.
We say root for, which I've never understood.
We don't say that because of the slang connotations of root in Australia.
What are those?
Yeah, let me explain it with my favorite Australian joke.
Way as possible. Okay, go ahead. Go for it.
Okay. So, how are wombats and men the same?
I don't know.
They like to eat, shoot, roots, and leave. So, with that connotation, do you get anything?
No.
So, root essentially means sex.
Yeah. Okay. I just put that whole thing together. My dad's favorite joke. This is totally not related at all. But my dad's favorite joke is so there's this panda, and he walks into a bar, and the waiter comes over, and panda. It's the Old West. The bartender comes over. Panda orders a sandwich, and Waiter brings it out. He eats the sandwich. And the waiter brings him a check. He stands up, pulls a gun, shoots the waiter dead, and leaves. And the bartender's like, what the hell, man? And he runs out. And he's like, why'd you shoot my waiter? And he goes, I'm a panda. Look me up. And so he goes back and flips through the encyclopedia. And it says, panda, large marsupial, native to Asia, eats, shoots, and leaves. You want to figure out what we're watching next time?
Yeah. Same thing as last time.
Yeah, let's each pick two. Let's say we can't pick the ones we had on the list last time. We have to pick two new things to be on the list. And I think hey you listening at home, if you've got a show that you think we should cover, hit us up on Twitter, where we are at BaseSFcast, and let us know, and we'll if people write in ideas, we can put them on the list next time. We're coming up with a new show to cover.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So the 4 shows we're going to be deciding between for our next episode are The Mighty Ducks, X-Men, SpongeBob SquarePants, and Samurai Jack. Do you have a D4 around?
I'm trying to think where my dice are. I don't know.
Mine are out.
Do you have one?
I think I've got an app I can use.
You got an app?
Yeah.
So for those who we have this system where we get 4 and then we roll a D4 because we're giant nerds and we normally have dice around. I have a D20 with me. Look at this. This is the giant loot crate D20 that I have just sitting here. But at the moment, I don't know where my dice went.
All right. It's cool. I got an app.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. It's a 3. We're covering SpongeBob SquarePants next.
Okay.
We'll have to look at it because I think SpongeBob SquarePants does 2 stories per episode, right?
Yeah, they do.
Are we going to do 3 stories or 3 episodes?
We'll do 3 episodes.
Okay,
but
so 2 stories per episode.
Yeah, but I think so normally we have 3 sections to a show. I think we'll just do the 2. We'll do 1 story, then the next story.
So we'll kind of recap everything that happens in the story, then talk about in details, then the next story in details.
Yeah.
Cool. That should work. All right. Well then, thank you for listening to the best animated shows ever. So far. Yep. I can't do 5 seconds. I can do 2. I can do 2 seconds on that pause.
Yeah.
Next time we'll be talking about SpongeBob SquarePants episode 1, which is just a delightful little episode that definitely has a name. And someday I'll remember to look these sorts of things up before I start saying them with my mouth. Because then I'd be able to tell you real easily that episode 1 of SpongeBob SquarePants is going to cover the stories Help Wanted and Reef Blower. We'll see you next time. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Thanks for listening to the best animated shows ever so far. Find the show on Twitter at BaseSFcast or email us at basesfcast@gmail.com. That's BASESFCAST. Our intro music is Funnin' and Sunnin', and our outro music is Motivator, both by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com, and licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Thanks again for listening, and tune in next time.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
at Probably Work for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.